I'm Paul Muldoon and I'm sitting outside Broadcasting House in Belfast. This is a building in which I worked for 13 years between 1973 and 1986 at a time when making radio programs was a terrific adventure for all of us involved in it. There was still a tradition of, as Dylan Thomas put it, he said, in olden times poets ran away to sea, now they run away to the BBC. And I suppose at some level I was hoping to follow in the footsteps of Louis MacNeice and W.R. Rogers and Sam Hannah-Bell and John Boyd, people who were still coming into the building, certainly in the case of the last two, and making radio programs in that great era of radio broadcasting. You know, I think we mustn't overlook the significance of what came out of Broadcasting House over the years in which broadcasting became central to our lives, of course, on radio initially and then increasingly in television, where poets and playwrights and novelists and short story writers gave us a sense of who we were, which in many ways was even more significant than what the politicians might be telling us or what the sociologists might be telling us, or the historians, and gave us often views of ourselves that weren't necessarily all that attractive, but which might have been true. There were so many writers with whom I had the pleasure of working here in Broadcasting House, Belfast. Writers who, of course, came in to record their poems or their short stories, but also a writer like Stuart Parker, whose early radio plays were made in this building. For example, I was at the recording sessions of his play The Iceberg, an extraordinary play about the Titanic. And it was one of my first exposures to the art, and art it is, of radio drama. And art certainly it was in the hands of Stuart Parker. Belfast itself was a vital place for me as a writer. I came here as a student in 1969. I went to Queen's University, Belfast, and I was taught there by Seamus Heaney, for example. I got to know very shortly after that Michael Longley, and then became involved with a group of writers, included Bernard McClaverty, Stuart Parker, Michael Longley himself, Seamus Heaney, Frank Ormsby, Kieran Carson, a group of writers who were involved in discussions of one another's work through this organisation known as the Belfast Group. So that was really important. After I left Queen's, I came to work in this building, and it may seem a bit strange to say this, but a lot of the poetry that I wrote over those years was written in this building. In fact, a lot of it was written in the information office. I would go into the information office of BBC Northern Ireland at the weekend. They were very conscious that I was going in there, and I could get to work in my typewriter and nobody was bothering me. Not only did I write poems in the information office in Broadcasting House, Belfast, as well as in my own office there, but actually there were aspects of this building that inspired me. For example, I did spend a little time most days in the bathroom in Broadcasting House, and I discovered in there that the doors in the bathrooms were made by a company called Brownlee. And that name lies partly behind the title of this poem, which is called Why Brownlee Left. Why Brownlee left and where he went is a mystery even now. For if a man should have been content, it was him. 2 acres of barley, 1 of potatoes, 4 bullocks, a milker, a slated farmhouse. He was last seen going out to plough on a March morning, bright and early. By noon, Brownlee was famous. They had found all abandoned, with the last rig unbroken, his pair of black horses, like man and wife, shifting their weight from foot to foot and gazing into the future.